As I learned in the meantime, hello means dobrodošli. Hello after the break, after a interesting and intensive panel. What I'm doing, I'm more, if I'm a little bit flexible on my way. What I will do over the next 30 to 40 minutes maximum is to give you a little bit an impact what is really going on in Austria on golf, and also what we think Croatia can learn, but we all at the end of the day had to learn from the various examples. As we all know, golf started almost 800 years ago with hitting a small ball over 100 meters, and today, 720 years later, 60 million golfers worldwide are playing that sport. That means it's not a niche sport anymore. It has really become a mass phenomenon, and I think we all should benefit from it. Quickly, and what I learned in the last 2-3 hours of the conference, once again with my lousy Croatian in the background, but Austria was mentioned several times. I hope, and have been told as a good example, not everything is good what happens in Austria, but when it comes to tourism, we had a lot of expertise and basically also a lot of experience. I think just to mention a few highlights, we reached already in the total of Austria almost 150 million overnights last year, with a mix of a little bit more in summer than in winter. Nevertheless, the money generated is higher in winter than in summer. In a total of 45 million guest arrivings, and the average stay is about 3.3 days. Unfortunately, decreasing and not increasing, but I think this is a tendency we see all over the world with the behavior of tourists going more often on holidays. That means they go therefore shorter in period of time. For Austria, the most important markets in general are Germany, Holland, Switzerland and Liechtenstein. We have a total of 1.1 million beds, and the impact on the overall industry is with 317,000 jobs generated by the industry. I think it's significant, and it valued about 6.4 to 6.5% of Austria's GDP overall. It's getting even more significant, and this is basically where I'm coming from, the small tiny state in the west of Austria called Tyrol. But when it comes to tourism, I think we can really call ourselves almost world champions, and the officials are very like to do that, because we have, out of the 150, 49 million are generated in Tyrol only. So 1/3 of the total of Austria is generated in Tyrol, and a significant difference, as you can see, is 56% in winter, 44% in summer. If we turn back the clock by 30 years, those figure was totally opposite. What happened in between, and I think this is also, what Croatia should keep in mind, looking into diversification of holidays. About 30 years ago, chartered tourism started, and all of a sudden, our key markets, Germany, Holland, had access to sun and beach, if you allow me to say so, at a relative cheap cost, because for the first time charter flights were available, and they made use of it, and we really had to rethink the positioning of tourism in Austria, and therefore we ended up really in investing heavily in winter tourism. So winter infrastructure, when it comes to lift, etc., is, I think, really state of the art. But we are now also thinking about what to do with summer. And here we really had a few good examples, and golf is one of it, which I'm coming to it. Here the difference is Germany is, of course, also the key market in Austria, followed by Holland. But I think what is also important, 8.5% of locals are coming to Tyrol to spend their holidays. And again, about more than 1/3 of beds in the whole of Austria are in Tyrol. And I think another significant figure, 25% of all jobs in Tyrol are by tourism, and also the contribution towards the GDP is about at least 25 to 26%. That means every fourth euro generated is out of the tourism industry. Why I'm focusing and why I'm pushing a little bit on it, because I think it's a little bit also a tendency which I could imagine that also happens here in Croatia as well. If you ask somebody in Innsbruck, the capital of Tyrol, what he thinks, a local by the way, a local, what he thinks about tourism, he will presumably tell you, I do not have to do anything with tourism. Which is not true. We all live in Tyrol, it's a matter of fact, we all live from tourism, and I think this is also what we have to keep in mind here in Croatia, that the tourism industry doesn't get separated from the rest of the country, so to say. That means that there is always a link existing between the locals and the tourism industry itself, because otherwise it can happen that you really run a successful industry, you run a successful business, but many, many locals, and we have 750,000 people living in Tyrol, are saying, tourism? Do I have something to do with tourism? No, I haven't. At the end of the day, it's not true. From the lawyer to the shopkeeper, we all live from tourism. But the link is missing more and more, so we should always keep that in mind. Well, here we are. Coming to golf. Golf was, and to a certain extent is, and I think we touched that before, always seen in the 70s, 80s, even in the 90s, the sport of the upper class, the upper 10,000. It's expensive, it's a niche, nobody plays it besides a couple of people. Then a total rethinking started, as we were saying. Winter tourism is not everything. City tourism is not everything. We have to offer the guests coming to Austria something which makes sense, which is additional, which contributes to the quality of the service we are offering, and of course also it generates business at a time when there is no real, so to say, high season, either winter from December to March in Austria, or summer from June to end of September, depending on the weather. And as a result of it, we created in the meantime 157 golf courses. When we compared it with Croatia, so Croatia should have already about 70 golf courses at least, but it took some time. It went to procedures, and golf, when you look on the figures, it's clearly indicated two areas actually. Lower Austria is actually called in German Niederösterreich, sorry for that, where the majority of golf courses are, but you also have to keep in mind this is the biggest state of Austria, and you have two capitals actually. You have one, St. Pölten, but even the bigger one is the capital of Austria, with Vienna, with about 1.9 million people living there. That means those, if you put them together, 46 golf courses you have here can be feeded even by Vienna and the vicinity of Vienna, where 2.5 million people are living, but they are also contributing significantly, as there has been created an area in the Waldviertel where there are since almost now 25 years 8 golf courses planned, built and operated with significant success, really to promote that area, which was, you have to keep in mind, and you allow me to say that, here was the curtain iron, as we called it. That means for Austria, or for the Western world, for many, many years, the world ended here. And therefore, there was no infrastructure, there was nothing, there was no future. Today, here, there is more progress going on than here. But those guys were very active and started rather early, thinking about how can we attract, at that time, people from Vienna, but also other tourists to that area. And they started with golf. And golf is really contributing in the meantime significantly to the industry, to the tourism industry overall. We had a panel discussion on how to get permission, how to build golf courses. I'm not going through that process overall. I think the key sentence you can say here is, it also takes in Austria long to build a golf course, but I think due to the fact that the story of golf has proven success in the past, Everybody is convinced that it is positive and worthwhile going the way, but you have to go, for example, sorry. This is the right button. You have to undergo the most important process in such a, besides financing such a process. This is the environmental friendliness check, how it's called in German, or Umweltverträglichkeitsprüfung. This is the one where every operator of such a project gets gray hairs, because it means piles of papers where you have to prove what happens to the nature, what happens to the wildlife, etc., etc. And another point is that the majority of golf courses are developed on farmland and based on contract between 25 to 50 years. The funny thing is, and many examples also have proven that, at the very beginnings, the farmers were the most opposite on each and every golf project. On a golf course, which I'm using as an example a little bit later on, in those days, these are the guys who are saying, if you expand, you get the land immediately. Because what does it mean? It's permanent, fixed, given income to them at a certain date, and they like it in the meantime. Also, we have in Austria, and coming to the end of the slide, no nationwide concept. It's more or less state-driven, and it's also driven significantly by the availability of usable land you have. We in Tyrol, for example, only have 25% of the total land in Tyrol even usable. The rest are mountains, full stop. We can make benefit of the mountains too, but benefits for golf in the mountains is not that easy, as we all know, and therefore the place which can be used is very, very, very limited. Coming to the details of golf tourism in Austria, I think one significant figure which we were able to gain with all the studies we did in preparation of that, foreign golfers are in the meantime contributing 2.2 million overnights. I think this is a significant figure for a country which is definitely not seen as a golf destination. Also important, I think, is that the average of the Austrian golfer is about 45 years. We also found out that, by the end of I will learn it. An average golfer spends approximately 135 euros a day, almost double a biker does, or also a sun and beach tourist does. So I think it's really worthwhile in investigating it, because you see, when you look on the figures here, this is what Austrian golfers are spending. We have approximately 110,000 golfers in Austria, but even more, the tourist coming to Austria is spending about 520 million. So in total, more than 850 millions are spent yearly in the golf industry. I think a significant part, and therefore really worthwhile thinking about it. And as we all know, golf is a sport where you need equipment, etc. You spend it for money, etc. So that means studies have shown that approximately a golfer spends 3,000 euros a year for his sport, and he likes it. Another interesting figure I think I would like to bring to your attention is when we are looking on Kitzbühel. Kitzbühel is maybe all known to you as one of the winter destinations. We have a wonderful downhill race, the Hahnenkamm race, but they have a problem what to do in summer. And therefore they started to promote, of course, biking, trekking, climbing, all the wonderful things you can do, what Mother Nature offers you anyhow. But we have in Kitzbühel, in the meantime, 7 golf courses in the vicinity, and therefore the golfers are actually contributing. Out of the 400,000 guests coming every summer, 60,000 of them are golfers in the meantime. So Kitzbühel has developed itself as a golf destination too. Bringing you now 2 golf courses which I think are significant and representative of what is going in the industry. First of all, a relatively new one. I think for Tyrol, it's almost one of the newest. The newest one is the one in Zillertal, and I got a few figures directly from the golf course itself. In 2 tranches, they invested about 5.4 million to building up today's 27-hole course expansion. By the way, the Miminger Plateau golf course is about 30 kilometers away from Innsbruck, the capital of Tyrol. They have 28 employees. I think also staff and creating jobs is something which has been always considered by making or planning a golf course, in creating the mindset towards the people. So golf is not something which is just for a few people who is playing golf. Golf is really something, a potential factor in the local industry in creating jobs, because you also have to keep in mind Tyrol is not an industrial country at all. We have 5, 6 larger industrial productions. This is it. The rest is small to medium-sized companies up to maximum 40, 50 people. And as I said at the very beginning, 25% of Tyrol's GDP is coming out of golf. When it comes to members, they have in the meantime about 1,100 members, which is a stable figure over the last couple of years. 100 of them are youth members, 250 have distance memberships. That means these are people from Switzerland, from Germany, 650 originating members, and 100 have a second membership. That means they are quite often in the vicinity and playing golf there. An interesting figure, I think, in comparison when I show you the next golf course, are the green fee players. They have approximately 30% green fee players, and are able, and their figures they are generated is the golf course is generating about 23,000 overnight stays by golf players in the vicinity. That golf course is adjacent to really one of the best 5-star spa and wellness hotels in the area, the Hotel Schwarz, as also one of the founding members. In Austria, you can see that many times a golf course and hotel or hotels are even going hand in hand, because it has been recognized, and it's nothing new. What golfers are looking for is quality, is hotels, is restaurants. And I think what is also interesting, what should be kept in mind, is promoting the youth players. They are spending from their own budget around 15,000 euros a year, and it's a clear fact and a clear statement from the golf management. It is absolutely important, the cooperation having with hotels, restaurants, and activities in the area. And another figure, they were even so kind to tell me what is their average turnover per year, which is about 1.6 million net revenue they are generating out of the business. So we could consider those golf courses as a really healthy one. This way. Another one is much older golf course, celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. This is the golf club Seefeld. Maybe Seefeld is known to you as a typical winter destination again. Was host of the Nordic World Championships just a couple of months ago. Here we have, and this is interesting, they can do the job with less people. Has also a little bit to do that their season is much shorter. They are on an elevation of about 1,200 meters above sea level. So that means on average you can play here from beginning of May till end of October at the latest, because before and afterwards you have snow on the courses. But what is important when it comes to the green fee players, this golf course relies heavily on the surrounding hotel industry. And as I said, Seefeld, really a tourism hotspot. So in summertime, and really from May to October, 55% of all players are green fee players, and therefore contributing in cash money towards the course, towards the club, and towards the industry. What they're also doing, heavily promoting the youth. They even have a free membership of till 18 years, so you can play for free. Another figure, coming to that also a little bit later, is the percentage of women playing golf in that course, in that club, only 20%. And what is happening here when it comes to the figures of players, they have changed completely their system of becoming a member. In the past, a couple of years ago, you had to pay approximately 8,000 euros to become a member there. Now those membership fees are gone completely. Because the tendency, I think, is clear that people are not willing to pay a fortune for playing golf. They want to pay and play and not really spending a fortune for that. And also the president, by the way, a lady, the close cooperation with the almost 100 hotels in the vicinity of the golf course is vital and key to the success of the golf course, but also towards the region, as I said before, with almost an important part of overnights generated by the industry. Again, and I think it's also important when it comes to the industry, to the business itself, you always have to look at where will my customers are coming from. I think it's obvious that when you look percentage of population towards who are golf players, of course, in the clear lead are the United States with about 10% of the population playing golf, followed by Canada. Always the most amazing figure, I think, for all of us is when you look to Sweden, where 7% of the population are playing golf. In Austria, at least 1.2% of population playing golf. Germany is with 0.7% clearly behind that trend, so that means there is a hell of a lot of potential. In Croatia, I learned in the meantime we are talking about 700 to 800 people, so it should be a little bit more. But it comes also to the figure that we have 35,000 golf courses worldwide, but only 19% of those golfers are women. I think this is something what we should consider and what we should think into it when we plan golf courses, and I come to that in a minute. Over the last couple of years, we have seen a general decline, which is now, since 2-3 years, come to a stop and now decreasing again. I think what has happened, I think by the change of the century, it was, so to say, en vogue to become member of a golf course, because then you can do the big business in the golf course. I think for all of you playing golf, know exactly this is not the case. This is bullshit. Sorry when I'm here straightforward. Nobody wants to do business on a golf course, and business is not done on a golf course. You meet people. This is it. You should enjoy the game. But for business, don't start to play golfers. What I think is important and has been anyhow mentioned before, the youth is really the chance of the future in many aspects. Not only in generating golfers at home, but also in generating customers for the future. So therefore, look into golf, into junior programs, junior lessons, etc. And what I think is also a given fact is that golf tourism is particularly an interesting market, as golfers are normally coming in groups. Very, very seldom there is only a single person coming for a golf holiday. It's always either coming with family or also pretty common coming with friends. So that means there is always more than two. Croatia, being famous, being important for sun and beach, means nevertheless you have to offer something else. And here golf could be a very interesting additional offering, product offering towards the sun and beach, because it also creates maybe even a little bit of customer binding, customer relationship. Because when we look at the sun and beach customers, we have to keep in mind, we always call them grasshoppers, because if it's Croatia this year, it could be Greece next year, and if Turkey is recovering, we are going to Turkey. They are pretty often looking primarily towards value for money, and very often where is the cheap or the best value for money, in other terms, where it's the cheapest place to go. Here, golf can be definitely and is contributing. I think the Algarve example or the Costa del Sol in Spain are two brilliant examples showing how you can add value to the industry, and once again, in view of Croatia 365, and we have seen at the very beginning a very wonderful curve. When golfers are coming, golfers are primarily coming, let's say, from March, April, May, June, and then again September, October, November. Months is where I'm pretty sure, and today's day is showing that clearly, where you can wonderfully play golf in Croatia at great climate conditions, where it can be already rather cold in the north of Europe, starting in Austria, for example. What is also important to keep in mind when we see it from a commercial point of view, the length of a golf journey. On average, the length of a golf journey is longer than the average journey of a city trip, etc. Because people are normally going there for 4 or 5 days. But the most important thing are, of course, the accessibility. That means, instance, the direct flights. You have it. You have your partners bringing your people into the country. You can also, of course, Croatia access easily by car as well. The package prices, green fee has to be included. That means more than that. A key issue, of course, is the quality and number of golf courses. Golfers are not coming to a destination only for one golf course. There are a few exceptions, of course, as usual, but they are rare and they fit on one hand. Golfers are coming to destinations when there are more places to play over the length of stay. The hotel availability, it should be normally 4 and 5 stars. And 2 key issues are definitely the safety. A negative example is Egypt. If you have been to Egypt 15, 16, and even 17, you have found even empty beaches. Not to talk about golf courses, empty hotels. Political situation, people are not happy what's going on in Turkey, so they are refusing to go there. So all these things which Croatia doesn't have. Croatia is to be seen as a safe place with a stable political situation. All issues and situations and facts you can rely, you can count on when thinking about bringing golf towards the country. As I said, 66% the golfers are still men, 25% women, and 9% junior golfers. So 2 segments, women as well as junior golfers. We should look into it, and there are, as I said, great differences per country. Why I'm mentioning that? Because one of your key markets, I think, as it is right now, and as it will be in the future, is Germany, and therefore Germany, as you can see, has, interestingly enough, nearly twice as many adult female golfers as other European countries. I have to be honest, we haven't found out the reason, but this is something you can rely on. That means offering here family holidays where the whole family can play golf. I think the opportunity you should think about it when doing that. I think this is pretty clear, even when it has the tendency towards it's an arrogant sport. But people who are playing golf like their lifestyle. They are simply willing to spend more money. And this is absolutely even sometimes conservative in nature with a smiley. But I think the most important thing is they're on average traveling with a partner or with friends. They never ever travel alone. Looking quickly, as I said, one of the key target groups you could address and could rely on are junior golfers. So far, we have 9% of all golfers in Europe are junior golfers, but key areas and key target markets for you, like Germany, Sweden, France, England, here is an enormous amount of junior golfers which you could address, which you could bring in, and which you could therefore make Croatia for them a cool country to come back in the future when they decide on their own. This was an issue, for example, for Austria. Austria, it took a couple of years till we realized that we have to do something for the young generation. To be straightforward, the generation X, Y, Z. We relied on our remaining and guests coming anyhow every year. But the issue was they grew older and older, and even they passed away at the end of the day. So it took some years really before we realized that we have to do something which attracts a generation we up till now never ever had to attract. So keep that in mind also when it comes to marketing strategies. As I said, the golf industry, the people, it's getting more. We have so far 4.6 million in Europe registered golfers, but I think a very prominent figure are these 3.3 million. These are golfers which called in golf terms the nomads. They are not belonging to a club, they are not registered, they play golf from time to time. And here Croatia could establish itself as a kind of a haven for the so-called golf nomads, even by bringing them in, by offering them membership fees, etc., and to attract them to come to the country and to see the beauty of Croatia. At the end, as we are anyhow a little bit behind the time schedule, what I want to point out is what Austria has done and maybe Croatia could think about. Being mentioned several times in the morning, I think it's clear that when making a golf course, you have to invest also in the surrounding infrastructure. We compare that a little bit with, as we say, a bird is not making a summer, and here it's obviously the same. One golf place doesn't make a golf country. So keep that in mind, that you have to put into the infrastructure around that, because otherwise each and every golf concept has a high risk to fail from the very beginning. Invest in the youth, because these are the guests of tomorrow. Why not offering programs for school and universities, either here in Croatia to make the sport more popular, but also from abroad? There are so many programs in various states all over Europe where schools, where universities are going abroad for a certain period of time. Why not offering here special things on golf? Austrian, Swiss and German golf clubs, as an example, are looking always for partner clubs where their members can play during wintertime, because we have long winters. We make money with snow, but as a golf course, you cannot make money when there is snow on your golf course. So even offer here partnerships when golf courses are available. And again, the golf players are coming at a period of time where the sun and beach tourists are not yet here. So again, really to enlarge your season, golf can be benefit significantly. The tendency is more and more towards packages. When you address guests, offer them the all-in-one, even with clubs along, because people like convenience. The more convenience they get, the better it is, and the more remarkable their holidays will remain in their mindset. Why not? We have summer charters. We bring thousands and thousands of people in for swimming. Why not having one charter flight a week from Stockholm, for example, or from Frankfurt, for example, with golfers towards Croatia? There is nothing against which talks against. And what I learned here, and when I look into the auditorium, I think it's obvious to all of us. We have to work together to make Croatia well known as a golf destination. I have used here a worldwide example from the World Golf Foundation. When you enter Croatia, you do not get a reply yet. And I hope that will change significantly. There are golf courses yet available, and we should see them when we are looking for them. When it comes to the people in the country, I think you should invest also in pay and play courses to promote the sport, to make the access as easy as possible. We even suggest that you have a driving range open to the public in the vicinity of every large city here in Croatia. Open the golf courses to beginners. The entry is the biggest burden. Normally we are all never have played golf before. You are shy going to a golf course. It still has that stigma which tells you, it's elite, it's upper class, I'm not going there, so you never ever start playing golf. Keep the democracy in mind. People are getting older, and we have to keep in mind that by 2020, about 65% of all golfers will be above 50 years of age. That means the facilities you're offering, that means golf carts, etc., keep that in mind, they have to be available. And as I said before several times, say goodbye to at least to high registration fees. Sometimes it's necessary at a certain extent, but people are not willing to pay enormous amounts for registration fees anymore, and try to attract the nomads, the 3 million which are out. A very, very important point which I put here at the beginning of that slide is invest in sustainable golf. 95% of all golfers, is a survey based on KPMG, want it, and what is also important, and 50% are willing to pay a premium for it. Keep that in mind, and when you do golf courses, get certified for it. Get certified that you're a sustainable golf course, that you follow the rules and regulations to preserve, protect nature as well as wildlife in your area. Looking even a step forward, look into emerging markets like China and Croatia. Both countries are golf aficionados, you could call it, because it costs to a certain extent a fortune in their countries to play golf. So when you have golf courses, think also on that market, and talk about Croatia as a golf destination. Once you reach a certain amount of golf courses on big shows like WTM in London or ITB in Berlin, and the things like build a strong presence on web and social media, I think is key. We all know from the various marketing activities, but also think what's really going on in the industry. People are saying a round of golf takes 4 hours up to 5 hours, but on average at least 4. This is long. I do not have the time for. There are many excuses. So we see a tendency in the industry towards 9-hole courses and towards shorter fairways. That means you can play the round quicker than the average 4 to 4.5 hours. Keep that in mind by planning golf courses. And when you do it, talk about it and make it. And last but not least, as we have marketing alliances with golf courses all over Austria, for example, in Tyrol, out of the 20, 16 are in a marketing alliance called Alpine Golf, for example, where people can purchase cards and get discounted green fees, etc. So never walk alone. To promote a golf course just on its own is a very difficult thing, as it needs so much more to be successful. This is how we do golf in Austria to a certain extent. I think the success with 2.2 million extra overnights have proven that the way is right, and I can only wish Croatia good luck on that, and keep always that in mind. Some golfers tend to close to the ball even after they have played it, and the last word I have learned in Croatia, it's hvala. Thanks very much for your attention. Thank you.